Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures. Did you guys know there's a TV show based off this game? Or is the game based off the TV show? I'm not really sure, but either way, let's get to it. Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures is a 3D platformer based on everyone's favorite hungry yellow ball. Now, one thing I want to address straight away is some of the reviews I've seen for this game on Steam comparing it to Super Mario Sunshine. I think PC gamers are so starved of 3D platformers that anything with a mascot and bright colors must be Mario Sunshine, because that's where the beginning and end of these comparisons lie. Mario Sunshine has wide open levels that act as mini sandboxes for you to explore and collect, while Pac-Man's levels are linear affairs. A much more apt comparison would be something like Super Mario 3D World, where you go from beginning to end in more or less a straight line. With that out of the way, how is the game itself independent of the Mario comparisons? Meh. So you spend your time going from point A to point B in levels, fighting enemies along the way, and collecting Pac pellets. You can run around, double jump, but that's basically as mobile as Pac-Man gets. Am I the only one who thinks that giving Pac-Man some sort of role is super obvious? For combat, Pac-Man can eat ghosts with the press of a button, as well as scare them away with a roar attack, which makes them easier to chomp. Each color of ghost has a different attack, but that's about as unique as the enemies get. Even though the combat is easy, the late game ramps up the difficulty by just throwing hordes upon hordes of them at you. Pretty boring stuff. The combat does get spiced up by the game's surprising amount of power-ups. Some of these power-ups are far more combat-focused, but other ones actually enhance Pac-Man's platforming prowess. My favorite is the Chameleon suit. It lets Pac-Man go invisible for some small stealth segments, plus I think that being able to eat enemies from a distance is such a cool progression of his powers. If you haven't noticed by now, Pac-Man has seen somewhat of a redesign with this game, and to be honest, I like it. Visually, I think the new Pac is a tasteful move forward without distancing itself too much from his old design, plus now Pac-Man is full of spunk. He's super casual about saving the world and is prone to taunt his enemies while fighting. Think Sonic the Hedgehog. But don't worry, Pac-Man doesn't ever get too edgy for its own good. The simple story just gives you a reason to push forward without taking itself too seriously. The game has a small hub world where you can run around Pac-Man's school and interact with some of his friends. And by small hub world, I mean really small hub world. It consists of 3 rooms, with basically the only thing to do in them being to play some mediocre minigames. From the hub world you can access a map, where you can select which level you want to play. There are 6 different worlds in the game, each with 5 to 6 levels inside of it. The levels within each world feel almost exactly the same. Occasionally some will do something a little bit more unique, usually basing an entire level around a power-up, but that's about it. Also, the game has a surprising lack of boss battles. There are like 4 boss battles in the whole game. Most of them are pretty fun, but why is it that some worlds just don't have one? Also, the game's final boss is going to leave you wondering, was that really it? It took me like 20 seconds to beat him. Perhaps the game's biggest offense is how it gates content through the amount of pellets you've collected. There were 2 different times in the game where I hit a wall where I couldn't proceed unless I collected a certain amount of pellets. I wasn't exactly blazing through these levels skipping pellets too. I collected a moderately large amount of them in addition to doing every optional level within each world, and I still hit this wall. The only fix is going back and repeating levels to collect more pellets. Ugh, what a chore. Even as a Pac-Man fan, this game is tough to recommend. It's not terrible, it's just kinda there. If you're absolutely desperate for a Pac-Man platform on PC, you'd probably be better off emulating Pac-Man World 2.